basics of showing you, where to access the information, so and how to get started. So if you have some people that don't currently have access to the Youth Apprenticeship and Career Pathway Partner tools, then what they'll need to do is they'll need to create an Illinois WorkNet account, and you can go to illinoisworknet.com and you can click sign up, and then send an email to info@illinoisworknet. Let me write that down. .com, and let me know that your account has been created. And then what I'll do is verify that you should have access to the Youth Apprenticeship Career Pathway Partner tools. And then once I get that, then I will change your account over to a partner account and give you access to the tools. So in order to get to the tools, what you can do is you can see up here in the URL that I have a shortcut, and I'll go ahead and put the shortcut to the partner guide. Youth Apprenticeship Pathway Partners. And that's one way to get to this page. The other way to get to this page is you go to illinoisworknet.com, and always in our footer we have the partner resources. So you can click on partner resources, and then there's a tile here for Youth Apprenticeship Career Pathway Partner Guide, and here we are. Now, on this page, we have our full list of resources and instructions, some our past training materials and videos. So if you weren't able to attend some of the other trainings, then those are all available. And then we'll be adding frequently asked questions, and then we have a page that has some updates. Okay. One of the more recent documents that I added was this process steps and system information or system identification overview. And it breaks down the overall process. I just tried to keep it, very linear and, starting with the basics, highlight some of the things that need to happen, and then identifying who completes which type of a task and which system is used. So the very first thing on the list is to enter training program information. And so we do have the instructions here for adding a training program, so that's available on this page as well. Okay, so if you're entering a training program, you log into your account, and you go to resources, and then you go to training programs. And whoever you have access to is what's going to be up here in this provider area. And then all you're going to do, but I see more people because I'm logged in as a person that has access to more than one. And then all you can do is hit Add Program. And when you add the training program, you may have, you may need to enter a couple of them, or, just depending on your situation, you may only need to have one entry. So you're going to have your training program name. So let's say if you have a training program in health science and a training program in construction, then, you'll definitely need to have at least 2 training program entries. Let's say you have something in construction. Maybe you have construction tier 1 and you have construction tier 2. And we have people that are coming in and may only complete tier 1, or they may be too advanced for tier 1 and they go directly into tier 2. In that situation, you would want to have a training program entry for both of those. But, it really depends on the programs that you're offering and, how those will be used. Then you have your program description, and we have these little info bubbles next to each of these. So you know you want to, it gives you a little bit more information about what we're looking for that particular item. So you want to include a course delivery overview, credentials earned upon completion, career pathway information, and some perks for participating in the program. You want to enter the number of projected number of participants that you're going to serve with that particular program. You'll enter the program contact name, fun and test. And these are all the people, these are my partners, my training partners, that have been assigned to, in this case, I believe I'm under Youth Build. So this is the person that would be responsible for maintaining and updating this information. That way, if anything needs to be updated, then we know who to contact about that particular program to update the information. Then you have your training program location. And so that would be the location where the primary, where they're going to spend most of their time doing that training. So even if they have maybe, their primary location and then, they go down 3 blocks to 3 times a week or something like that, you'd want to put it in the primary location. Then you're going to identify the career pathway. You're going to identify a NAICS code. So you can do a blind search for NAICS code, or you can enter in search criteria. And the reason why this is important, the NAICS code identifies the industry for that business, and it helps with pulling together data moving forward. Like if we want to know if a certain person was in a program, and we can link it back to what industry that was for that business. Then we have the SOC code. So it works the same way. You can do a search, or you can do a blind search. You enter, and the target occupation will automatically populate when you select the SOC code. And then you enter the zip code. And the zip code, again, works the same way. You can type it in if you know it, or search, or do a blind search. And you have the minimum age for this occupation. So one of the examples that we've used in the past is, if you have maybe like a truck driving training program, and they have to be a certain age to be in the program, or, if it's supposed to be, I believe they have to be like 23 to go across state line, something like that, you can put in the minimum age for that occupation. You can put in the time to complete the training program in weeks, and this would be how much it is for completing that actual training program, with the understanding that if a person has to do some type of remediation, they would need to account for that in addition to what this training program is. Link of it. Identify if your agency offers remediation or a bridge program. You can identify who the target audience is, in-school or out-of-school youth. The type of institution, secondary, post-secondary. What are the goals of the program? What are you going to come out of there with? A badge, a certificate, a degree. How the training is offered. What are some of the prerequisites? And it's not to say that if a person doesn't match up with some of these items as far as how it's offered or the prerequisites, it's more about knowing what information and what's needed and how the class is offered, so they can put together a plan in order to make sure that that person gets the prerequisites they need in order to enter the training program. And some of these other questions are used to help have a discussion with the customer to find out, say, well, you said that, you only wanted day classes, but this program is offered on day classes and night classes. Is that something that, you'd be willing to compromise on? So we have some other questions. What's the lifting requirement? 55 pounds, 50 pounds. And again, these lifting requirements, standing requirements, sitting requirements are not hard stops. It's about, educating the person on, for this type of job, that you're going to have to lift 50 pounds on a regular basis. Is that something that you would be okay with? And the next area is a test. Now, this is what's considered a hard stop. It's of, particular importance, I believe, for the health science industry, for those healthcare positions, that they're going to need to be able to pass a TB test or hepatitis screening. But, if you have another occupation and those tests aren't required, that's fine. Just simply indicate that the screening is not required. The same thing with the drug test. You can say a drug test is not required, but if those types of occupations, a lot of manufacturing occupations do require a drug test, they just need to know that up front, that says maybe they're not drug-free now, but by the time that they are ready to apply for either that internship or, work experience, or they are, going to apply for the job, they would need to be drug-free. Vision requirement, that is what we call a hard stop as well. The example I always use is that, can't, I don't know of any jobs where you can be a forklift driver and be blind. Appearance requirements, a lot of these were for the hospitality industry, but it may apply to some other areas. If it doesn't matter about if there are no appearance requirements, just simply check no appearance requirements. The taste and smell requirements, those are often with the hospitality industry as well for the chefs, food preparation, that type of thing. And if there's no taste or smell requirements, you simply say no taste or smell requirements. The motor vehicle is the 3 motor vehicle tickets. That's a hard stop as well, because if a person, there's no sense in having them go through a training program if they're not going to be able to get past that requirement. A valid driver's license is required for the program, either yes or no. The way it's worded in the application is basically either yes, I have my driver's license, no, I don't have it, but I could get it with some training, or no, I'm not able to get a driver's license. So if they're not able to get a driver's license and it is required, then they won't be matched up with this training program. A background check. So these were developed based on the feedback from another program. We had these, they were a little bit different to start out with, but we modified them based on a lot of information that we found out about different requirements for background checks. So if you're under 18, then this is not considered whenever their suitability match is out there. Is used to align a customer with a training program. But if they're over 18, it is considered. So there are some locations that or same types of jobs where you're not going to be able to get them if you're a registered sex offender. And there's some types of jobs that they have to be able to bond the person. And if they have some of these background situations, they're not able to bond them. How this training can be accessed, just let us know. Bus, train, driving. It's not used to stop a person from going to a training program. It's just to let them know what type of transportation options are available, especially if transportation is a barrier for them to be able to succeed in a program. And then what's the primary language spoken? English or Spanish. Okay. So that information is used to help align the customer with the appropriate training program. Now you can go ahead, if you don't know the answers to all of those questions, you just continue to go through and, answer all of them and save. And then you can always go back and update that information. Okay? So that is the training, how to enter in your training program. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a customer that is, you're going to have your training program information in there first, and then your customer is going to go and complete the online application. And let me just go back into this one because it doesn't on my work.com / my ACP partners. And so then the next thing that they're going to do is they're going to be completing the application. So we have suitability applications instructions for the customer. And so it kind of tells them like what to expect, why are we checking to make sure that they're suitable for the program, how to get to the application, a little bit of a screen capture, to show them what to expect, and that they're going to, look at their interest inventory and identify their career pathway choices. And then once they're matched up with a potential match for them, then they'll complete the application piece, and then how to access the information, and then a few steps of what's to happen next. So from a partner standpoint, you can use your dashboard, and you can see if they've started, who started their application and not completed it, or the pre-screening section, and who's completed the pre-screening and not started or has started the application. Sorry about that. You really don't want to keep people here in the yellow. There's not really a good reason to do that. I can't think of any good reason to do that, actually, because you want to go ahead and have them submit that application. But why we have this here is because if you're ever wondering, like, well, I thought that Johnny completed the application, but they're not showing up in my dashboard, you can kind of see where they are with the progress, and then, talk to them and say, hey, you need to log in and complete it, or, hey, it looks like you did your application, but I don't think you actually hit the submit button. So you can see who those people are. Okay. So once they have completed their application, then they go for the ready for review. Again, our goal is always to try to keep people out of this yellow section, and preferably in the green. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this list. These numbers are a link, and it gives you a filtered list of customers. So the dashboards give you an overview of where people are in the process, and easy access to a filtered list of customers. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to let's see if I have Barney up here, because I know Barney has no. Okay, that's okay. We'll go back and look at some of these other people. So I can see these people right here have been synced with IWDS because we have their IWDS user ID. We have a link to their information, first name, their provider. So the provider should always be you. If they don't have a provider, then you won't see them, or if there was somebody else, a different provider, then you shouldn't see them. So it should always be you. You can see their username, email, if they've submitted their application or not, or and then also the placement status. So placement status refers to worksite placement. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at Tommy. Okay. So now with Tommy, you can see we have their profile. So we have first name, last name. We are adding this where you can show more of the contact information. But we have it in the show hide like collapsible area so that it doesn't, take up and make a huge long list for you. You see the username, last for the SSN, WorkNet ID, the program name. You can see their program name information, and then the application status, if they're an applicant or a registrant, their IWDS ID, and what kind are they, like what are they, youth, adult, so forth. And then you can, whenever there's any updates, there's a nightly sync that occurs. But let's say that there's a change that happens in IWDS, and you want to go ahead and see that change right now, then you can just sync with IWDS, and it will pull in that customer's updated information. So let's say that we have a person, they've completed their application. Then one of the things that you want to do is go to their suitability page. We have instructions here. I'm trying to be good about always putting your instructions right here at the top for you. Then we have the eligibility requirements. So right now you can take a look at this person, and you can see that this particular person, their birth date, if they're in school, out of school, and they claim that they met this following eligibility requirement. One of the updates that's currently in process is we're updating the application so that instead of saying, this person saying, yep, I met all these eligibility requirements, they're going to check. They're going to say, yep, check, I'm a school dropout. Check, I'm subject to juvenile or adult justice system. Or check, I'm an individual with a disability. So when we have that information that's in the application, it will populate those fields in IWDS, so it completes some of the eligibility fields. And then for those of you that aren't as familiar with the WIOA eligibility requirements, we're going to have like this little, kind of like a little cheat sheet. So you'll be able to see the documentation that's required for each of these eligibility requirements, so that whenever your person is going to go talk to the WIA career planner, you make sure that they have all the documentation that they need at that meeting, so that the WIA career planner can simply go through the rest of the application in IWDS and take a look at their required documentation, and just be able to complete it all at that one meeting instead of requiring additional meetings. We want to make it as smooth as silk if we can. So those are some updates that we're making right now. We have the employment goals, so you can take a look at the different areas and see how they answered it. So whenever you're looking at the suitability piece, you can say, oh, I see you're able to work day, evenings, and weekends, and this is your goal in 1 year, this is your goal in 5 years. So you can take a look at that information. These pieces right here are, again, pieces of information for suitability. They're not what we consider hard stops. So this is more about, oh, well, you said that, you're able to stay into training up to 65 weeks. Well, that's fabulous, because, you could even do the manufacturing thing. That one's up to 36. So we know we don't have to eliminate anything that way. You're willing to drive more than 25 miles. These are, again, this is all test data, so we wouldn't say, yeah, let's put you 174 miles away. But the point is that you can look at these different questions, and you can look at the information that's available about each of these training programs, and you can have a discussion with them. So especially if you offer more than one training program at your location, your grantee, you're the provider, and you offer access to more than one training program, you could, have that discussion with them on which training program may be the best choice for that person. The training program name, you select it, And all that information that you have entered in is available. So it's at your fingertips, and you can, again, talk about that with the customer. Let's say this person, they want to go into the machining, and then it's going to put my name and date with it, and it's going to say the recommendation. It's going to automatically default to recommend for enrollment, and then I want to save that. Let's say I had a customer that said, well, you know, after looking at all these, I just don't really want to participate. Then an option you could say is they decline to participate. Or you could say, well, you know, after we did a little bit more investigation, we found out that this person, you know, they're just not really all that suitable for the programs that we offer with this right now. If you don't get any training programs up here, and you're like, what in the world? Why did nothing get recommended? You can look at the View Non-Recommended Training Programs. And so, again, each of these links, they open up the program information. You can say, okay, well, this one's not in the right industry from what they chose in their application. Food service, it's not the right industry, plus they didn't meet the appearance requirements. Radio, they didn't meet the industry requirements. Hotel, they didn't meet the industry or the appearance requirements. In this case, you saw the person was over 18, so this area is green. It is something that is compared. If the person was under 18, then this would be white and it would say NA, so it's not applicable. But if the person, you know, it's early on, they haven't gone through their whole WIOA eligibility certifying the applications and so forth, you can say, well, you know, did we really need to have this appearance requirement, or did we really, you know, did they just answer the question incorrectly? If that's the case, you could go back into their application and update the information if maybe the person misunderstood the question, or if they didn't, you know, or just answered it incorrectly. They may have just accidentally clicked the wrong thing. And they update the application, and then the system will check again, and, you know, if there's a match, then they'll be the listed training programs. Okay? And I'm just going on and on, so feel free to ask questions at any time. Okay? So my step was the person complete the application. I'm on the suitability page. I looked at all the information. We had discussion about the training program. We had discussion about the WIOA eligibility requirements, and we're all good to go. So if you are a provider that does not have access to IWDS and you need to have an LWIA planner enter in the information, you know, complete the IWDS application and certify it, or, you know, enter services, then what you'll do, you'll go ahead and mark them as ready for enrollment, recommend them for enrollment, and then you're going to click the schedule an LWIA appointment. And so your LWIA planner is going to enter in different dates and times and that they're available to meet. So you'll see dates and times for, you know, the current date and moving forward, what dates are available. And you can, you know, select one of these appointments, and you can see that the appointment's been scheduled for 10/25 at 9:30 a.m. Okay. One of the things I didn't put out there yet is that we have the case notes. So case notes are a tool that you can use. So, for example, we have different types of case notes. We have case notes that are system generated. So this one, you can see the application was submitted. In this case, this one came from IWDS. You can use case notes as a communication tool. So you can enter in the subject, whatever that is, notes, I don't know why my view here kind of got goofy. Refresh the page. Weird. So you can send it as an LMI WorkNet message or an LMI WorkNet message in an email, or you can save it as a case note without sending anything. If you send it as a message or an email, you can send it to, you could choose to send it as a customer. If you have any contacts identified for this person, then they would be listed under the case notes as well. So you can add case notes. We recommend that you try to use case notes, whenever it's appropriate, but, leave good detailed case notes. And whenever you do add a case note, it will populate IWDS. So the next thing is the progress page. So with the progress page, you're going to want to identify the partner that they're going to be working with as a primary contact. You want to identify the LWIA. If you don't have access to IWDS, your location doesn't have access to IWDS, then you're going to want to identify your partner that does. Okay, good. And then, I'm sorry, just reading the chat. So, okay, so we have contacts. So then you can see who the contacts are. You can update those as needed. And you can see the appointment that was added. If you needed to remove it and reschedule it, you could do that as well. We have the enrollment and employment information. This information is coming from IWDS. So you can know what their status is in IWDS. We have the goals section. So we have the training program that was recommended. We have the overview of the information that was added to the application. So these are the areas that they had selected for their career interest areas from the application. You can see what they said, the highest level of education. This particular person didn't have any credentials entered. They didn't have employment entered. And you can also take a look at any of the previous work that they have already done in Employment 101. Employment 101 is a self-guided tool that they can use to, explore careers, learn about doing job search, and finding training programs, and then they can create plans within Employment 101. So that's a tool that you might want to take a look at or use. The other area, we have immediate employment goals. So these should look kind of familiar to you. Time available to work, desired type of work, short-term, long-term goals. Now these are all this information comes from the application. Okay, so it's pre-populated with the information that came from the application. And so after I'm working with them and talking to them, I say, okay, well, let's take a look at this. Now that you've explored these options, or now that we've had this type of discussion, do we need to update your goals? So you can click Edit. You can update these fields. They look just like what's in the application. Short-term, long-term goals. And then the thing that's a little bit different, so we have in the application, they can choose like one of three. They have three career pathway choice 1, 2, and 3. We're going to populate it with career choice pathway choice 1. If that needed to change to selecting, either the 2 or 3, then that's fine. But the point is that you're identifying the primary career pathway choice. That's their goal. That's what they're moving towards. And then 2 occupations within that career pathway. So they might be able to do CNC, and I mean, you don't have to have 2 of them in there, but we'll just put like manufacturing production technicians. And then I can update those goals, and those are available. Then I have a barrier section. Close this one up. The barriers, these are the areas that the customer said that I have this barrier, okay? They said that was in the application. So you'll see that in some of these, they have like these little arrows next to them. What we have in the application is the higher level of saying what kind of barriers that you have. So if they say I have a disability, they could choose, some of these other areas. If they said they had financial issues, we don't ask them at the time of the application because some people just don't want to put all that out there. They're not really sure how it's going to be used, who's going to see it. But whenever you're having the conversation with them, you say, oh, well, I understand you have financial issues. Is it related to like utilities, food, health costs? Same thing with language barrier. So the point is that in some of these where you see these little arrows, there's sub-menus. So you can, choose like more detailed information, and that can help you with making the referral for those customers, or identifying, next steps and any referrals that are needed. Okay, the next thing that we have is the services. And we have instructions for all these, so bear with me. So for adding services, what you need to do is, first of all, use this location, this area right here, as an opportunity to create what, and some people are used to calling it their ISS, Individual Services Strategy. In WorkNet, we often refer to it as the Individual Services Training and Employment Plan. And so you can add services. So you can use the Add Services button to create that plan, and then your customers will be able to see that plan. So you can do, these are aligned and set up kind of in how IWDS sets it up. So we have it narrowed down. We have the youth academic learning. We'll start out with like youth case management. So youth case management, you can identify whether it's a WIO-funded service or not. We're going to say yes. It narrows it down to what's available, what's your choices for under that service type. So it's case management. And we're going to enter not started because we're going to start these services on Monday. And then we're going to go through, let's just say through December 15th. And we're going to say maybe we're doing it like 3 hours a week. And we can save it. So, then you can say, okay, so then we're going to say we're going to do academic learning services. It's going to be WIO funded. And we're going to do, basic academic training. I could put in a program name and that information. I'm going to say it's not started. And we're going to start that on Monday. And that's going to go through the end of October. And that'll be 15 hours a week, let's say. Okay. And then you can continue on and say, okay, well, then we're going to go through and add a learning service that is WIO funded, and it's going to be pre-apprenticeship training, and it gives you the program information. I'm going to say it's not started because we're going to start that on November 1st. And I could put a due date of the end of November, and maybe that's going to be, 20 hours a week. I'm going to save that information. So I'm starting to build out this plan. I can organize it, sort it by the service program name, provider. Right now I didn't put any provider information in there to save time. You can sort it by start date, by, the end date. It's not complete, so we don't have the end date there. because what we put in there was the due date, not the end date. And then we have like what the status is, if it's not started or completed, and then source. Okay, so as we go through, we'll just say, okay, well, today is, pretending that today is October 16th, and if I am a WIA person that has access to IWDS, I don't have to go in here and update this anymore, really. I can just go into IWDS, and as long as I say, for Tommy, he has case management, and it has this start date, it will look for those pieces of information and sync up this line item. If it doesn't find something, maybe I accidentally put the 17th in here instead of the 16th, then all it's going to do is create an extra line item, and you could delete the one that, that's not synced up with anything. Now, if I am a person that doesn't have access to IWDS, then I need to submit a request. So what we have with Online WorkNet is it's a communication tool, so you can submit those requests directly to the career planner, okay? So that's where some of this information up here, this contact information, is really important because I need to have my career planner identified in order for me to submit my request. We don't want to submit it to the whole world of career planners. We want to send it to the one that is supposed to be, working with this particular customer and has access to this customer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say case management. Today is pretending that it's October 16th. I'm going to say it's started. It's going to say that this information must be entered in through IWDS. I say OK, and then it submits the request, and you can see the status changes to request sent. Once they add that to IWDS, okay, so when there's a sync that happens in the evening, so, at night. So it's going to sync up all these services, all the case notes, all the credentials. That's all going to happen at night. And then, okay, so that happens at night. So you can, as a person that needs to send this request, you can send the request. You can make the request at any time of day. But a midday notice is going to go to that career planner like around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you made, a bunch of your requests in the morning, you would know that midday, that career planner is going to get an email notification that has a summary of all the changes that you're requesting to be made to the services in the IWDS. We do that because we don't want to send the career planners like 30 emails. And maybe that's an exaggeration, but we don't want to send them email after email after email. We want to send them one summary that has all those requests with all the information they need at that time. So they can make the updates, and as soon as those updates are made, if you needed to have it synced right away, you could hit this sync with IWDS button. If you don't need it right away, just wait till the next day, and the information will be synced overnight. Okay, so once they've made that change, then you'll see the status will go from request sent to IWDS. If you wanted to make an update to this, and I say I want to change it to completion, and I'm going to say put the completion date on there, and hit save. Then I can submit that request, and it's showing here. But again, this is on a test one that has an older information in it. But if I had used the newer person, since we just made the change yesterday, then it will say instead of request sent, they'll say, I think it's like update requested. I think that's what the terminology uses, update requested. So you'll know those which updates have been requested versus what are the initial requests and what information has not been sent yet. Okay, that's a lot of information at one time. And then we have the services. So another thing that you can do within each of these areas has, let me close you up. You can enter service provider information in there. You can also enter credentials that have been earned. So, you can identify, the source. Let's say it's a certificate. You can enter an institution and the date, and then a description, and then save it. And then that credential, you'll see, is associated with that step. And then, actually, you'd probably have to go here, and we save it, and so it submits the request. Okay. And you can see that information has been entered. Then we have the uploaded documents area. Let's say I had that credential, and I wanted to, show evidence that they had it. Then I could select Upload New Document, and you can see that you can upload PDFs, docs, Excel files. But one of the things we want to make sure is that you don't update or don't include anything with, PII, the personal identifiable information. For example, we don't want anything like a full Social Security number or anything like that. If you have a document that you wanted to upload and it had that type of information, then, you could black it out and upload it. That would be fine. But otherwise, just keep it to things like, your certificates that they may have earned, or, a letter from the employer, or, something, whatever's needed. You can add it to that section. Now with the services and outcomes, these next areas are kind of like summaries of information. So you can see, and actually I'm going to have Cody move worksite placement over before services and outcomes. But you'll be able to see the listing of services. You can add a service from this area. You can export a listing of services. You can filter the services. You can search for services, and you can sort services. So there's all different types of things you can do on this page. It's a summary of everything. Then you have your case notes, so you can see what was system generated. We do provide areas along the way so you could add case notes in suitability and progress. On the progress page, you could also add case notes from this page. The point is that we try to put these tools where you need them, and then we provide this summary area so that you don't have to know to go to suitability to see it. You don't have to know to go to progress page to see it. You can go to case notes and you can see all of them regardless of where they were entered. This also brings in case notes from IWDS. So if you add a case note in Illinois WorkNet, it's going to add it into IWDS. If you add a case note into IWDS, it's going to add it into Illinois WorkNet. We have the listing of assessments that this person has, and this will be updated next week as well to have better logic when it comes to entering in the basic skills assessment results. But right now, if this person had skills and interests, you would be able to see those skills and interests. Again, this is on test. You see the disability benefits estimator, or the Employment 101 I just mentioned. There's our NOCD results, observational evaluation. You can add those. We have the worksite evaluation where you can add that. And then we have the adding more assessments, which allows you to add either basic skills assessments or other types of assessments. And we do encourage you to enter the more assessments because that will also help us build out a library of assessments and how they're used and help develop best practices. We also have Optimal Resume. It's a really cool tool that we have. It's for a resume builder, but it also has different things in there like a cover letter builder, resume builder, portfolio builder, interview skills practice, an assessment area, a website builder, video resume builder. And so whatever your customer has saved, then you'll be able to have a read-only view of that information. One bit of information I just realized that I think is really important that you will probably need is the, I just realized I didn't tell you about this, is the reset password. So you can manually reset those passwords for your person. So what you have the information that they'll need. So they'll need their username that's in their profile. So you can give that to them, and then you can, change the password to something a little bit more generic that they can change, or maybe, if they're there at your desk, then they can enter in their own, type it in directly, their own password, and then confirm password. And then we do have worksite placement that's available. So you could do it at the customer level, but the point is with the worksite placement is you'll be able to add employers and worksites and the total number of openings and information about those jobs that are work-based learning experiences or jobs that are open, and you'll be able to fill those positions. So, for example, this person I've already entered in like Rob's Rides, we make bikes, you can enter all their information, you can identify their contact information. Then we have like the actual work site. So the work site could be different than the actual employer. And you can identify the person, the contacts at that location, and then the type of job. So you have the stock code, the title, a description. You can choose the employment type, work-based learning, job shadowing, work experience, internship, on the job, permanent employment, the rate, number of openings, and those start and date information. And then, let me just go back to this, and I'll change this to 5, save it. Now you'll see that I had a total number of 5. I already had one position that was filled, so now the total number of openings is 4 openings left at that location. I can add a customer. I can choose from my list. It's going to populate with the default, so maybe for this type of position now, it's a part-time position. Let's say it's started, and this is my start date, and it's projected through October 31st, and I can add them. And I added them as a part-time position, so you can see I just added it. So I click on that, and you can see who was added. If you needed to remove them, you could. This information would populate the individuals page as well. Where I had spent most of the time during this webinar. It would show up under the worksite placement. And then you can also do a payroll upload where you can enter in the start and pay period time, download a payroll template. So all you have to do is enter in the number of hours that they worked, and then you save it, and then you upload it, and it'll populate the information in Online WorkNet with their payroll information. So I see that Carrie has a question. When an application is submitted, who has access to make changes to the client's application? Whoever has access. So let's say that I have access to YouthBuild. Whoever has been associated with YouthBuild has access to those customers' applications that have been submitted. And as long as the person is what's considered an inquirant in IWDS, you can update that application. But once the application has been certified in IWDS, you won't be able to make those updates. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. Great. Thanks. I know we are just about out of time, and I've rambled on quite a bit because there's just a lot in the system, but know that you can go to, let's see if I have it open here, you can go to the Youth Apprenticeship Career Pathways Partner Guide and find instructions on how to do all of this. So if there aren't any more questions, thank you very much. Have a great day, and I'll go ahead and open up, move this out of the way. So if you want to check in your organization, then feel free to do so. Thank you.